dude, I was freaking out. I was like, dude, this is what I'm talking about. This is good TV. Hello there, it's your girl, Crystal Kyber, and today we're wrapping up The Mandalorian Season 3, Chapter 24, The Return. Immediately, I do not like the name of this chapter. It's giving very much end of a trilogy vibes. Return of the King, Return of the Jedi. It very much feels like an ending of something, and I don't like that because I want Season 4, like, now. By the way, if you're new here, my name is Crystal, as in Kyber, and I talk all things Star Wars. So if that's something that interests you, you might want to watch a few of my other videos. Wait, did I blink or did I wink? Because I tried to wink and it felt like I blinked.
Oh, what an entrance!
My Star Wars mug of the day is this Grogu the Child mug. I thought that it would be appropriate for, you know, our last time talking about the season. And my drink is the Dragon Fruit Acai Refresher from Starbucks. If you haven't had it, get it. And I love that it has these bits of dried dragon fruit because if there's one thing about me, is I like to eat my drinks. Like, I love boba, I love grass jelly. I love when my drinks have something in them that I can like chew on. If you're interested in any of the makeup that I'm using today, I'll have them listed in the description down below. This episode picks up right where we left off, with Bo giving xoxo's directions to evacuate all the Mandalorians parked above Mandalore. And at this point, I'm still very suspicious of xoxo. I still think that he is a spy. And I'm still waiting for Axe or even the surviving Mandalorians to turn on Bo and her team because I'm just so suspicious of them. When I was first watching this episode, I was interpreting everything that Axe did up until the point that he crashed the ship into Mandalore, so the very end of the episode. Up until that point, I was like so sure that whatever he was doing was not for the greater good of Mandalore. I really thought that this was the episode we were going to find out who the other spies were besides Alaya. And it turns out, or as someone told me on Twitter, that the spies are a reference to like a biblical story. And it's not spy as in like a James Bond spy, which is what I was expecting. I was expecting like a double-crossing secret agent who was working for the Empire to pit the Mandalorians against each other or something. I don't know, I'm very dramatic. Din fights off his captors. I really like this scene because I feel like we finally get to see what a skilled fighter Din is. It reminds me a lot of Din Season 1. You know, he was like so scary and so intimidating, and I felt like that's like what made his softness with Grogu so impactful, was because he was this big, scary, brooding Mandalorian taking care of like this adorable little baby. So to see Din really just handle these stormtroopers, I was like, this is the Mandalorian. When things are starting to get rough for Din, like, I was really worried for him, and then Grogu comes in and rescues him, and it is so adorable. I was just so amused at Grogu saving Din because of that no gag that they introduced this past episode or 2 episodes ago. And then Grogu sprays Din with a Bacta spray, and it is more annoying than it is helpful, but so cute and says so much for Grogu's personality and the way that he just loves Din. Like, he's just trying to help out. It doesn't matter that Din has his helmet on and the Bacta spray is not helping. It's so cute because he doesn't understand, and like, and then Din makes the decision to K-word Moff Gideon. I'm like, oh, okay, we're going there. Because this show has just not gone there, but now we're going there. So the plan is Din and Grogu are going to sneak through this hidden secret lair on Mandalore in search of Moff Gideon. Din enlists the help of our favorite little nervous droid, R5. I think R5 is so cute and so adorable. He gives like his little shudders of disapproval, nervousness, while R5 pulls an R2-D2 by helping Din open like these laser doors, force field doors. Imperial mouse droid spots him and runs over to him, puts on his sirens, and harasses R5, just like bumps into him with his little sirens going. So R5 zaps little mouse droid, and he's like good for a minute. He's like helping Din do Din's thing. So the mouse droid ends up coming back with reinforcements. So it's like a bunch of these little mouse droids just harassing poor R5, and it is like so comical. While all that droid drama is happening, Din is fighting for his life. He's going up against these Beskar clad stormtroopers, and after defeating the stormtroopers, we finally get a look at what exactly Moff Gideon and Dr. Pershing have been working on. And it is clones, but they're clones of himself. I'm telling you, Moff Gideon is such a drama queen. For some reason, I don't know if I missed something or I just didn't notice, but for some reason the clones wake up and then all of the clone bacta tanks or cloning tanks explode. I don't know, I thought that was like weird. Did Din do something? What I'm guessing that does for the story is I feel like it kind of leaves room for, I'm like really trying to concentrate. But I think it leaves room for a clone to survive and for there to continue to be a Moff Gideon. Between the time of the clone vat exploding and then Axe Woves crashing the ship into the Mandalorian base, I 100% believe that a clone could have survived, and that's how we're going to continue to have Moff Gideon as a villain. I've already seen some people and some YouTubers speculate that the Moff Gideon that we had in this season already was a clone, meaning that the clone was successful and we're just gonna have like an infinite amount of Moff Gideons as villains, but I hope that's not the case because that'd be kind of like cop-out. Just have the villain be cloned over and over and over. The surviving Mandalorians take Bo Katan and her crew to seek refuge in these underground gardens / farms that looked so beautiful, and it had this like big feeling of hope. Like I said with Axe Woves, at this point I still thought that there were spies and so when they took them down there I thought it was beautiful, but I was just waiting for something to happen. I was waiting for the other Mandalorians to turn on Bo and the crew and have stormtroopers come out and like ruin this beautiful moment, but that didn't happen. Like I said, there were no other spies. When the armor reaches out to her and says that her reinforcements have arrived. And then we get this really cool scene of all the Mandalorians coming together on their jetpacks to retake Mandalore for Mandalore. So I really loved this jetpack scene. It was so cool. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that before. It was beautiful. It was well choreographed. It was action-packed. I loved it. I love that we got like these little vignettes of each character doing really cool Mandalorian things. So while this whole super cool jetpack scene is happening, we also are getting cuts of Din fighting Moff Gideon, and the jetpack action is happening above and behind them, which I thought was really cool. And at this point, I was pretty confident that we were gonna see Din K-word Moff Gideon, and I was like, all right, let's go. But then the Praetorian Guards and their ominous music happen, and I'm like, oh geez. I'm nervous at this point because they start beating up on Din, and they're like beating Din up. Grogu comes into it, and then I'm like, no, he's just a baby. So then the guards go after Grogu. Like, he's just a baby, what are you doing? So the guards chase Grogu into the other room, and Din yells out for Grogu, exactly what I was thinking the whole time. I was like, no. And when Din yells after Grogu, like, it was gut-wrenching. Like, I felt it. I felt it to my core. I was right there with Din yelling for Grogu. And of course, Moff Gideon has to stop Din from going after him, and I'm just like, dude, I was freaking out. I was like, dude, this is what I'm talking about. This is good TV. So Bo sees what's going on and she comes to Din's rescue so that way Din can go save his child. And I don't really know how I feel about this because I think that both Din and Bo have reasons to end Moff Gideon, but I kind of felt like it should have been Din to end Moff Gideon because it's his show. But at the same time, I can also see why it's important for Bo to like win against Moff Gideon. And at the end of the day, or at the end of the episode, neither Bo or Din really defeated Moff Gideon, did they? It was a giant ship crashing through Mandalore. See, that's the thing that I'm just like, dang, that's like bad writing. I'm like just realizing this as I'm talking to you. And my friends, Misha and Mariah, brought this up to me and I 100% agree with them. I wish that we got like a Mandalorian beheading, but it would have been really cool to have Bo use the Darksaber to behead Moff Gideon. That would have been so epic, right? That would have been so Mandalorian. And it would have been like a definite ending. The ending we got with Moff Gideon was kind of ambiguous, but he's in like the super suit and he has clones. It's just like a little ambiguous, an ambiguous death, which is like honestly really annoying. I wish that it was our characters that drove the plot forward and not just like a ship crashing into Mandalore, burning up Moff Gideon. Like, it should have been Bo or Din. Din is able to get to Grogu before anything serious happens, and they team up against the 3 Praetorian guards, and it is so cute seeing them be a little duo. I also love getting to see Grogu use the Force and like finally get to be like an active participant in the story and the action. My brush makes a noise. I don't know why, I think I dropped it, but after they defeat the Praetorian guards, I really feel like there's a missed opportunity here for, I guess, emotion and heart and love. When Din and Grogu beat the Praetorian guards, they just like move on. And what I really would have liked to see here is Din hug Grogu. Like, he was just so worried about Grogu, like so worried that like I as the viewer felt that. I felt worried, I felt like scared for Grogu. I didn't know what was gonna happen, and it was gut-wrenching to watch Din kind of like have to sit back, and he couldn't get to his child. And when he gets to his child and they win against these 3 really scary guards, there's no emotional payoff. It's very frustrating. And I was like, Din, pick up your dang kid. Xoxo decides to crash the ship into the Empire base, which is when I was like, okay, he's a good guy. I did like that Bo, Din, and Grogu all teamed up against Moff Gideon, but like I said, no one like actually really defeated him. Like, it was a ship. Oh, and I should also mention that the Darksaber gets ruined. Moff Gideon throws a tantrum and breaks the Darksaber, and I was like really upset about that. I mean, I get the symbolism behind it, I get what they're trying to say. Anyways, the ship crashes into Mandalore, and at this moment I was kind of worried about our trio because they're right there. They're kind of being reckless and not paying attention to the literal ship crashing in. I get it, they're dedicated, they're Mandalorians. As the ship crashes dramatically in the background, I really thought for a moment that our trio, Din, Grogu, and Bo, were like done for. I was like, they can't be doing this. Like, I was really caught in the moment. It's Grogu that uses the Force to protect them. He does like a little Force bubble and he just protects them. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, this is the moment where I got teary-eyed. Like, I really felt it here. I thought I was gonna cry. It was such an emotional scene. The fire, the colors, the music, Grogu being the most adorable little Grogu I've ever seen in my entire life. So this moment was just like so beautiful. But again, there's no emotional payoff, and I was so disappointed by that because as soon as Grogu saved them from dying, that was it. They just moved on to the next scene. I would have loved to spend a little bit more time here with these characters. I mean, we just had this big emotional moment. We just hit the climax of the episode and that was it. There's nothing to it. There's no like resolve. I personally would have loved to seen Din go and grab Grogu and just like hug his son and just have this moment with Grogu for saving him and Bo, and missed opportunity. I also would have loved to see Bo Katan hug Grogu. I would have loved to see Bo and Din like exchange this look, this gratitude, just something where it's like the characters are kind of like acknowledging this amazing moment that just happened in the episode, and they just quickly moved on to like a 13-minute epilogue, which personally I kind of felt like the epilogue didn't even really need to happen. The next theme that we go into from this big emotional moment is the baptism of Ragnarok. I think that scene only existed so that way Din and Grogu could have this moment of Din adopting Grogu into his family and letting Grogu become like an actual Mandalorian. It didn't really pay off. We as the audience have already kind of accepted Grogu as Din's son, and so this like moment of Din kind of piggybacking off of someone else's baptism, it didn't really feel earned. I think it would have been more impactful if Din like came to the armorer and like had this conversation separately to like baptize Grogu. You know what that's giving me is that this was very rushed because it didn't settle. Like nowhere in this episode did we settle. I think this episode should have been broke down into 2 parts or something. I don't think this should have been 1 episode. But nonetheless, like I thought it was really cute because we get Din Grogu So cute. It was cute, but that's been his son. Grogu connect with the mythosaur, which personally I was kind of disappointed that we didn't see the mythosaur come into play at all during this end battle. Our next little epilogue is Bo relighting the kiln or the forge of Mandalore, and it's like this really big emotional moment. But again, to me, it feels rushed. It is implied that Axe-Woves adopts Ragnarok Vizsla, which is so cute and so adorable because Paz Vizsla and Axe-Woves kind of had this like competitive bromance happening. But again, I felt like this scene felt like really rushed. Like it was just kind of like, okay, relighting Mandalore next. So next, Din is going to the New Republic officers, like the New Republic bar, to strike up a deal to work with the New Republic so he can continue being a bounty hunter. For me personally, I really like the episodic pulp fiction version of The Mandalorian that was season 1 and kind of season 2. So I'm really excited to get back to that. And then our last epilogue of the series of epilogues is a classic cowboy western ending of our hero settling down on the outskirts of like a boondock town that he's rescued a few times with his little cub, you know, like lone wolf cub, but cowboys, western, but Star Wars. I'm still waiting for Cobb Vanth to like walk on screen and kick back with Din, but you know, there's fan fictions for that. I just love that scene. I thought that it was so cute. Din is finally getting to relax with his son. His son is just happily playing with frogs. So cute. Such a cute moment. I really loved that. I mean, I get why they had all these little vignettes, but to me, it just felt so like rushed. It was like, oh, we have to tie up all these loose ends, so let's put it all at the end. Let's do a montage at the end and like tie up all these storylines instead of like figuring out a way to tie them in to the story. I still love The Mandalorian. After I watched this episode, I was like on fire for The Mandalorian. Like all day I was like humming the theme song, like, you know, I was like getting my life to it all day, and I felt very similarly to the way that I did when I watched season 1 and 2, where I was just like, oh my god, The Mandalorian! I cannot wait for season 4. I'm excited to get back to our little bounty hunter, lone wolf cub situation, and I'm really looking forward to that. That's all I have to say about the episode and season 3. If you've made it this far in the video, leave me the little sparkle emoji in the comments down below because of my little eye moment. I really like this makeup. It had a few hiccups along the way, but we figured it out. You guys have an amazing rest of your day, and this is the way. Bye. He's like, that's my droid impression, by the way. That's my R5 impression. I need to take off some of this. So we're just gonna pretend like that didn't happen. Hopefully some glitter can save it. Glitter and lashes.